Well, Deborah, here we are again, the dynamic duo.
Hey, Jeannine, good
I'm so
Alan. So
happy.
good
I'm
to
so
always be with
happy.
you.
I've gotten so much out of our friendship, out of our work together, and I'm just beyond happy to be talking to you about your upcoming retreat because I know I'm greatly looking forward to it, and I am so happy we get this opportunity to talk about it. And so, yeah, tell me what goodies are in store for us. And
So I'm going to be offering it's a 2-day virtual Radical Self Nourishment Retreat we'll be working on the theme of cultivating contentment, which is uh, such a beautiful theme. I love this theme because we live in a world where people are seeking, happiness and seeking, they're seeking it outside of themselves, there's a beautiful teaching within yoga. And it's called the niyamas, and these are attitudes for coming into really right relationship with ourselves. And that's my way of understanding it. Um, and contentment is one of them. There's cleansing, saucha, which is the Sanskrit word. Santosha is contentment. Tapaha is practice. Um, Swadhyaya is self-reflection, self-study, and Ishwara Pranidhan is surrender to something higher than yourself. And so I love these teachings. They're really beautiful. Radical Self Nourishment is a program that I've created over since 2012, and I have many different kind of ways that I teach it. And I used to do quite a lot of retreats, like out, like in nature. And since the pandemic, I've really had to take this work online, and I've started taking retreats online. And so the retreat is going to be, we're going to focus on that one attitude, or we call niyama, is the Sanskrit word for for these attitudes that bring us towards wholeness. And so cultivating contentment, we're going to spend 2 days. And of course, that we won't all be online. We're going to have lots of spaciousness and breaks. So you go off, and I'm going to get you to do some fun things like go out in nature and go and receive messages from nature. And I love to do that kind of creative work, and have space for creativity, for creative expression to come through from our inspirations and messages from nature, and
well, I have to jump in right there because, I hear the word nature and Hildegard, and I just go, woo, yes,
yes,
Veritas.
Veritas.
And I wanted to speak to this contentment piece because, as I've done some of your programs with you, and we are going into that whole santosha, the contentment. um, I would say of all of the pieces you've offered, that's the one I needed the most.
Mm,
And I know that so many of the folks I work with are in the exact same boat because we're spiritual beings. We're all about helping others. We feel deeply, as you always remind me. We spiritual beings, we care so much, right? And often there's, at the end of the day, there's no juice left in the battery because it's been all giving, giving, giving. And so that's why I know I need your upcoming retreat as I tune into what's coming. I'm like, oh yeah. And I think too, at this time of year, where the whole world, certainly in the West, is going, I mean, at least here in Boulder, the Christmas carols are already on the radio, and it's all about, shopping, shopping, and doing. And yet at this time of year especially, it is, I think, the most sacred time of the year in terms of connecting with that power greater than ourselves. And we can really receive on such a deep level if we stop the doing and focus in, and take some time off and do a program like yours. So
and
so good.
and thank you for that. And I also, what I, this time of year, we're going towards solstice. We're like a few weeks before solstice, the longest night of the year
Yeah.
in the northern hemisphere. And this time, this is the time where we're like, curled up inside the earth, dreaming, receiving, our visions and dreams of our longings and what we're here for, and what's and allowing ourselves to empty out,
Yeah.
allowing that kind of that a little bit of a void space
Yeah.
where we have permission to not know necessarily what's next, and to allow for what wants to come through. And this time it's like part of the cycles. It's part of like aligning with the cycle of nature. I am very big on aligning with nature
Mhm.
as a spiritual practice. And so we'll be a week, the retreat will be a week before the solstice,
Yes.
so we can really take advantage of being in that space where we can allow ourselves to dream, because it's so crazy, because the way that whole holiday season of, yeah, it's so like you got to be out with people, and it's actually kind of
Counterproductive.
counterproductive in a way. It's like it's a
Yeah.
good time to retreat and nourish the light inside of you. It's like just you
Oh, so
know
true. Well, I know that this is my favorite time of the year, although I really love all the times, all the seasons, right? But just to know that you're offering this an opportunity to be in community. Um, and, as I think back on some of my experiences in your programs, I'm so touched by the people you bring together. Such, as you said, creative and spiritual beings. And you have so much to give us. I know my favorite part of your work, as in terms of the practices you offer, are these amazing sound journeys you take us on. And I would love to hear from you. What's going on there? How does this happen? How did you come to doing these beautiful sound
oh my
journeys? And then I do want to tell the story, at least one of the stories, because I have lots of them, of what happened for me on one of your journeys.
mm. So the sound journey, I mean, okay, so I've been exploring the power of sounding and sound. Um, it first happened, I think, in 1998, when I ended up being in a situation where I kind of was freaking out and I needed to get away, and I ended up going on the west coast to Vancouver and then to Vancouver Island, and having this whole experience in nature. It was like I
Mm.
ended up having my first medicine walk. And we will
Oh,
be doing medicine walk in the retreat, where we go out in nature, even though it's, well, depending on where you are. If you're taking the retreat, maybe you're going to be in Florida, but um, so it'll be sunny and warm. But I'm in Toronto, Canada, so we may have snow and it might be cold. We might not want to go outside, but it's still good to go out, and you can still receive messages even in the cold and the snow. You can connect with the trees.
oh, you're
You know,
talking to a Swiss mountain goat, so I know what you're
I
telling me.
right. I know,
I'm
right?
like, I'm going to be going out. I got lots of long underwear.
So in that experience on the West Coast, I ended up finding myself on this medicine walk on a cliff in a park called East Sioux Park, and I was on this like in this. It just had this, out to the ocean, and this sound that came out of me
Mm,
kind of blew my mind. It was like the kind of beginning of this. It was like, what is that? Who's
yeah.
sounding? It was like this big voice that came out. I was a singer. I've always sung. I was a singer. I was a closet case singer for years, and then I came out of the closet in the uh, when was that? Like late '80s, late
Yeah.
'90s. No, late '80s,
There you go.
and no, late '90s. Yeah, late '90s. I'm getting my decades mixed up, but this sounding was, there weren't words. It was like this sound that came out, and it was felt very connected to the land. I felt like So then I started to explore it, and I ended up, meeting people. I started studying the deep listening method of Pauline Oliveros, by somebody in Toronto, and Bourne, who's an amazing musician and singer. But I started learning the craft of improvisation. But then it became, and then it went, and then it morphed into, working with some other people, and it became, I've had like almost 20 years of kind of cultivating this thing.
Yes.
And it's just gotten deeper and deeper. And as I connect, and it really feels connected to the land, to
Yes.
nature. And I noticed that the sounds that come out of me are different, with the sounding, I'm always connecting with intention. What is like, why am I sounding? I always have to know what am I sounding for? Then I get out of my way, and some sounds come through. I don't even know. It's like to the point now where, in a way, the sound already knows what it needs to do. I trust it. It's
Yes.
a gift. It's a
Yeah.
gift that I have been given,
Yeah.
and I trust it. I don't understand it even always.
Right.
I don't even have to understand it. I just
No.
have to get out of my own way to let it come through. So I offer these journeys in
Yes,
my
you
programs,
do.
and people seem to have very um, powerful experiences. And Jeannine, maybe you want to share
I
some
sure
things that you
do.
experienced in the we call Radical Self Nourishment RSN. If
Yes.
you're, in the RSN program, you had a number of powerful experiences with.
Sure did. Well,
Mm,
I have experienced that when you do the sounding, you know, I feel the trust you have in it. It's just palpable. Um, and for me, you always invite us to get comfortable. And so I always lie down during these wonderful things. And I get, my favorite pillows and my blankie. And I just,
yeah,
and it's so, as soon as you open your mouth and start sounding, it just feels like I really am being taken on a journey. And it's like, being with the sound. And I have found that, it's almost like my left brain just says, okay, I'm not needed here. Because I don't know that I even really would want to understand it, because I know what happens is so wonderful. And I too trust it. It's almost like, my energy and yours connects, and there's just this field of trust and immersion in the sound. And I just feel so safe with you
mm,
to go, wherever. And I love how you often tell us, we can choose between the heart or the womb. And I pretty much always have gone to the womb
mm,
space. And so it feels very embodied from the very beginning. It's like I am going on this journey and I'm taking me with me.
mm,
Um, and the one time, I know I was up in the northern part of Boulder at the time. And I felt like myself just going up this path. And then, as I recall, you invited us to go and find a door. And so there was this wooden, amazing door that I saw and felt. And I opened up the door, oh, it was like a heavy door, but gorgeous wood. And, um, and I go in there and I'm in the Rupertsburg Garden. And
mm,
so, Rupertsburg was the first of two abbeys that Hildegard built. And actually, I have a model of it right here next to me. But I'm in that garden, and the current remains of this abbey is just a little bitty piece of the cellar. And, the cellar is where she stored all of her healing remedies.
mm,
And so I just feel like that energetics is still there. And I've been in that space, but I've never been in the garden, because the garden is now, full of, huge modern day buildings, in downtown Bingen. But I was in the garden, and there was this beautiful, huge oak tree and this beautiful stone bench. As I go, and it's kind of like the door led me into the door of the cellar, and I was going out the back of the Rupertsburg into this garden, the tree, the bench, and on the bench, Hildegard is sitting. And I went over and I sat next to her on the bench. And I have had many encounters with Hildegard. I have not had any where I literally felt her touch me.
Mm.
And I was at that time in a lot of emotional, physical pain. And you talked about intention, and I just wanted, my intention was, I was seeking help for, how to nourish myself, right? So, and so I'm there, and I just feel her hand touch mine, and I put my head on her shoulder, and there was not a word exchanged, but I knew she totally got every single thing I was dealing with in that touch. And in doing so, I did not feel so alone. It was like, okay, here is a soul who gets this.
Mm.
And the one big message she gave me was rest. Just, and it was so gentle, Deborah. It was like, and it was, I was just like, Moses in front of the burning bush moment. It's like, oh my God, is this really happening? And then and you're so gentle too. That's the thing. I mean, here I was having this experience, and then like in this far off place, I heard the sound again, and then it was like you were guiding us to come back and be in the present moment, in community again. And I mean, I was in quite a state of bliss for quite a few days. And that message, rest, 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 has continued to come in since that day in all sorts of different ways. But it really started with that particular journey you took us on that day. And I will eternally be grateful for it. It was fantastic to feel her, physically. It felt like she was holding my hand. I was like, dang, I've never felt her on that level like that. So
Yeah,
incredible.
it's such a beautiful journey that you're describing, and just the messages, and we each, each person has a completely different experience, and sometimes it's not so visual, sometimes it's just they feel it, or they feel that support, or you know
Yeah.
but it's like, um, it's a beautiful way of, because when we're doing the sound, it's all about the frequency and resonance.
Yes.
And the resonance, it's like we're the sound is helping to recalibrate, your energy body, and you
Oh,
know your molecules are rearranging, so that you can have a different experience, and
yeah.
and, and receive, like, it opens up the intuition to then receive, actually, what is it that I need
Yeah.
for my self-care. Like, what
No,
do you got such a direct, like, rest. My God, like, people are like, yeah, rest. Hello.
I know, right?
We need rest. But sometimes people don't say, oh, yeah, I can sleep later. I'm too busy to rest.
No.
But the thing is that we have to listen to that. That's like that is your guidance from your highest wisdom
Yep.
speaking to you.
Well, and I often feel the sounds that come through you are specific for the group at hand.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's never sounded the same in each of the times I've been there. I remember one time where these kind of playful and quick sounds came out, and I found myself giggling.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
No, I mean, it's
it's like,
completely the group energy. It's the group energy. I mean, and the intention, and it's like the group energy, and it's also like, we're doing virtual work, so it's like I've had people like in South America and like all over the world. It's
oh,
like amazing. We're doing this kind of almost grid work
so
with the
true.
sound frequency in all these different lands, because when we do the sound, it's also nourishing the land. Yeah, and
Yes.
I always have that as part of my intention, the sound, you know.
Yeah, and I've been in different locations pretty much every single time I've done one of these journeys with you, California one time, down in Crestone by the sand dunes,
Yeah,
up
that's
in the mountains. Um, and it's so fantastic to feel that immediate connections. Like those places have changed now for me since I've done some of your practices there. I mean, I remember there was that one, I was by the ocean, Pacific Ocean in San Diego. Oh, I'm going back there next year, by the way.
beautiful.
Got to go
Well,
reconnect.
yeah, and so, we will be doing, you will be having we'll be doing sound journey, but you're also going to get to be doing sound. And that one of the things that I love to do in my work is empower you to use your voice in
Amen.
every way. And to, whether it's with, playing with a Vedic chant, a very simple chants,
Yeah.
or playing with just vowel sounds or playing with sound. So we're
Mhm.
going to be, sound is one of the tools that I use but it's not the only tool. There's also working with nature, and so we do the medicine walk. Also, we'll be doing some yogic type practices, but very simple,
Yes.
very simple.
Well, and that's for me such a fun part of working with you is, you bring in the yoga, you bring in the indigenous pieces. Um, and so, I think whatever our backgrounds, there's a way to connect with what you do. And I think that's one of the reasons why you and I have connected and woven together with so much excitement and beauty and fun,
Yeah,
is
definitely.
because, you're so expansive. You're so incredibly expansive in your being and in how you include all of these different components um, to nourish us.
Well, my name is Deborah, and Deborah means bee, and so I always call myself um, a cross pollinator.
Yes,
I am a cross
I love
pollinator
that so much when you say that.
of
Yes.
ancient wisdom streams, including yoga, because I'm very steeped in the
Right.
Vini yoga tradition that comes from South India through the line of Krishnamacharya. I've been trained very deeply in that line, and but I've been working with all these indigenous elders.
Yeah.
My mentor from Zimbabwe, Mandaza Kandemwa, and my I study with curandero Don Oscar Miro Quesada. He's one of my wonderful mentors, and I've had many different indigenous teachers, and been incredibly inspired. I worked in the Native community in Toronto in my 20s, so I got exposed
Mhm.
to these beautiful ways, and this understanding of how do we live in right relationship with the earth. So I really drunk that in. The seeds were
Oh.
planted at a young age, and I had no idea where I would be, how I would be
Well,
working
and you've
years
also
later.
you've spent time in these lands.
Yes, I spent
I always love
uh,
your posts on Facebook that show you, you know, whether it's in Peru or, I mean, the fact that you've been in India and spent so much time there, right?
not
You
for
know,
a while, but yeah, I went like I probably spent like 3 years there over six
no, and
trips.
we feel that. We feel that in working with you. It's like, you're not your classic Canadian.
Yeah, I mean, I feel a
Global. Yeah.
global, and maybe even beyond global.
I know, I know. Well, then there was the journey. I went to the sun and back.
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, I think it's
Amen.
yeah,
No, and I think that's why, anyone can find a way to nestle into what you're doing and that anything really goes. And
well, I
um
think it's really important. I value sacred space that is safe for each one and that honors the diversity of each person.
Yes.
and that I create those spaces so that people feel very welcome, and that's
Oh,
really
that's so
important to me.
true. And so,
Yeah.
um, so yeah, I hope that some of the viewers here are just going to go, oh my God, I'm going to join these two women.
I will. I'll post the link below this video. Um,
Yes.
yeah, for if you want to learn more about the 2-day retreat, which will be on December Saturday and Sunday. It's 9 to 5 Eastern, and there'll be breaks. Um, and yeah, all the information is will be in the page that you can go and look at and you know connect and see if it has any resonance for you. I would love you to join
Um,
if you feel called.
exactly. And I really want to encourage those of you who are going, yeah, this would be great. But, things like, I don't have the time,
Yes.
or, these are the classic ones, right? Or I got to take care of my kid or my husband or my wife or my, you know,
Well,
parents. So
this,
all of that.
well, this is the thing is that that thing of when we put all these different things. I've got to do this. I don't have time for me. Like this is the issue that many of us as you know that we as spiritual beings, as healers, as change makers, as we may we have that tendency to put ourselves last,
Right.
and the thing is that um, it actually doesn't serve us in the sense that we want to be giving, we want to be powerful in our capacities as a the beautiful work we're doing in the world. And yet we can't do that unless we're self-resourced, unless we're grounded in our own being and are overflowing like a fountain, so that we're not giving from the core and
Yeah.
getting that's what gets you depleted because you're giving from like you're not giving you're giving from your core, and so there's nothing left for you. You're like left dry. And so
Yeah.
the idea is you don't give from your core, you give from the overflow. You're overflowing, and then there's like and you put yourself first. It's the thing, put your with the on the airplane, put the oxygen mask
Yes.
on yourself before your kid, because if you can't breathe, how are you going to help your kid? So it's like
Absolutely.
it's the same thing.
Well, I
Self
have to
care,
tell you,
so
I have,
key.
I have to tell you, Deborah. So I recently had one of my children here, and he, went through quite an intense crisis. Dear guy.
So
And
sorry.
and I I had the overflow. And I tell this story to those viewers who are thinking, I've got to be there for my kids, because when he was through it, and he did get through it quite quickly, he called me up and he said, Mom, I have to tell you, you are really strong. And you've been through so much shit in your life. But wow, Mom, you have such a sweet, kind demeanor, but I don't think most people know how strong you are. And I'm thinking, oh, it's that work with Deborah. So it was that kind of thing, right? And I had it, and so I really, really want to encourage, if you even have an inkling of, I gotta have a little more. I mean, the word is nourishment, right? I mean, doesn't contentment sound great? I mean, oh my goodness. So yeah,
Well,
come join us.
contentment comes from the inside. It's not based on conditions outside of us. It's your natural state. So how do
Yeah.
we touch that natural state within us? It's like, and so we're going to be cultivate. It's a cultivation. We have to
Well,
cultivate.
I know I'm going to be much more content after spending 2 days with you, and I really hope that
Oh,
you know
I'm
many will
excited
be
to be
called.
with you and with whoever else is joining. I know I can feel you.
No, right. That's the thing
It's
about
just
you,
true.
Deborah, is you just have this amazing capacity to connect with all sorts of energies and beings, and um, it's a great honor to know you and to work with you.
Mm, thank you. As is such an honor to work with you and also to have experienced your incredible work that you do. Yeah,
And those
it's
of you
such
watching
a gift.
who know Hildegard's Kyrie know that not only did Deborah learn that whole thing and all the movements that go with it, but
I did.
the trees up there in Canada are enjoying it too.
Yeah, I sing to the trees. I sing that and it's cold outside. So, I sing like my bedroom window I face an oak tree and it's right there. The branch is there. So I sing to the tree every morning.
Oh,
It's just
oh,
tree time.
happy tree.
Happy tree. Oh, what a joy to talk to you, Jeannine.
Likewise, likewise.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll see you on the 11th, right? Is when we
I'll
start.
see you on the 11th. I hope to
Okay.
see whoever wants to be with us to come and play,
Yeah.
and we'll just have a really deeply yummy, nourishing time. So,
Amen.
have you there.
Aho.
Oh, many blessings.
Likewise.